Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Rob Berger. I'm the organizer of tonight's event. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Before we get started, I just want to go through a couple of program notes. First, there's a few people and organizations I'd like to thank for their support of tonight's event. First, I want to acknowledge Lisa Kempton, our videographer. She has videotaped our history panels free of charge last year and this year, and we certainly appreciate that. Her video services allow us to preserve the stories that you'll hear tonight for other people to hear in the future. If you're interested in having any video work done, I'll do a plug for Lisa. Her contact information is in the program. I also want to thank Stonewall Columbus. If it wasn't for Stonewall, these programs would not be happening. They've supported these programs for 2 years and promoted them in a way that's been very helpful. We also have 3 other partners: the Gay Ohio History Initiative, the Our Stories Project at The Ohio State University, and the Ohio Historical Society. So our thanks to them. One Pride announcement before we move on to the program. On the back table there is a brief little card that's like the Pride Guide, lists all the events going on during Pride Month. I want to direct your attention to one particular event. Stonewall Columbus every year sponsors a Pride brunch on the Sunday after Pride. This year it's Sunday, June 24th. It's a jazz brunch. This year it features Mary McClendon, and tickets are $35 and $50 and can be purchased from Stonewall. Tonight is part 2 of a 4-part look at gay history in Central Ohio. There is a third part next Wednesday at 7 o'clock that looks at gay men, and then the final part 4 is the following Wednesday, the 27th, and that will feature videos of gay events and activities going back in time. One of them is the 1981 Gay Pride Parade. Tonight's panel focuses on the experience of African American gay people in Central Ohio. If you think the gay history is something that's unexplored and not really preserved, which it is, then you certainly realize the history of gay African Americans is certainly a neglected area. And tonight we hope to delve into that with our program. I want to introduce you to tonight's panelists, and then I will turn it over to our panel moderator. First on the end is Wanda Ellis, who will be moderating tonight. Next is Sheila Singleton. Next is China Dickerson. And finally is Kevin Wiles. And with that, I'll turn the program over to Wanda Ellis.
First, I just want to say thank you all for coming out. We weren't sure how many we would get, and I am very surprised and happy to have as many as we have tonight, and I hope that we have to get more chairs out in a minute. This will be my first time that I've ever done this type of thing with being a moderator and things, so please bear with me. We will make this as comfortable as possible for our panelists as well as you all. And at some point, we will open it up for questions from you all in the audience. I want to start with asking each of our panelists to say a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get into the questions. Sheila?
Well, let's see. The short answer is I am just a country river kid from southeastern Ohio, from Zanesville down on the rivers. And I never in a million years would imagine that I'd come to the big city and someday sit before a group of people in not 55 miles from my home that look like me. The majority of the people in the room look like me, and I'm sure share my experiences. So I'm almost speechless, which is usually impossible. So, I look forward to just talking about what our involvement has been in the GLBTQIA community and beyond in the African American community.
Hi, my name is China Dickerson. Let me see a little bit about me. My profession is counseling. I am a homebody. My charge is rebuilding community.
My name is Kevin Wiles, or better known to most people as Kevin. I'm employed at OSU Medical Center in Labor and Delivery as a medical secretary. I came to Columbus by way of Springfield, Ohio, but spent a lot of my years traveling because my stepfather was in the military, so I grew up a lot in Central America and Europe. After finishing my studies at University of Cincinnati, I moved to Houston, then came back to the Ohio area, and which I am planning here in Columbus right now. I just want to say I hope tonight brings about some discussion, open doors to communication and some dialogue, which I'm very receptive to. In closing, I just want to say I'm a proud Black, outspoken man, gay man, so, and have no problem doing that.
Thank you. I just realized I didn't tell you anything about me. I've been serving on the board of Stonewall Columbus for the last 3 years. This year I've just become the vice president. I'm very happy and proud to serve in that position. Stonewall, for me, has provided a foundation, which was already started because I have a wonderful family. I'm the youngest of 8. But when I came to Columbus, it seems like my world opened up for me to be really out and gay. And so I want to thank Stonewall and the fine people of Columbus for this opportunity. Okay, I'm going to start with these questions one at a time. Sheila, how old were you when you realized you were GLBT?
8. I was 8 years old. I didn't have this word GLBT or lesbian or anything like that. I just knew I liked girls, and they told me I was a girl. And somehow I picked up, that maybe I shouldn't say a whole lot about that. So every day when I would pick up my friend Elaine and get her bag, she was a frail little thing, and walk her to school, and I just knew it. And from that moment, I was pretty precocious and a big old book nerd. So I started trying to look up or try and find these things that would explain it. And I would just, try to be the best captain of the army or playground attendant that I could be for Elaine.
Always a leader, I guess. Diamond, how old were you when you realized?
Wow, I was about 7 or 8, and I used to like to play doctor. I mean, operating time, you gotta take off your clothes, but
Always a leader.
I did, and I don't know. My family just they just accepted me, and little girls used to love to come over and play the patient. Are we going over your house after school? Yeah.
So did they realize what was going on?
Yeah. They was older than me too. They knew what was going on, and I played football on the street with the boys, beat up the boys, whole 9 yards. So I knew about 7 or 8. Walking, my brother and them still tell the story today how we was going swimming one day, and I had this big old afro, and these girls was walking by, and I said, "Tell them my name is Michael." They never let me live that down. They still laugh.
That's great. Kevin?
I think I was probably a little bit older, probably like 10 or 11, maybe 12, I don't know. But I never knew that it was GLBT. I just remember being called a sissy all the time. And it didn't bother me. I mean, I got chased by boys, but I thought it was because they liked me. But I remember my sister caught me one time and all Black women that are sitting here, when they were little girls, probably remember being in the drill teams with the pom-poms on, and I was in her boots doing their steps. And I remember her telling my mother, and I just cried, and my mother was like, "Oh, your brother's is, being Kevin." She didn't think anything of it. But I knew in my heart that I was different, but I didn't really put a name to it. But I knew I liked little boys. Yeah. And I always had, and I like men.
In some ways, now that I look at it, because I am a trans-identified person, and I say that because it was more about, I just thought they were wrong. For me, I just thought they was wrong about what I was supposed to do and be. You know, it wasn't necessarily about being a lesbian or gay, because when I would later on hear that, I didn't think that that was me necessarily because of the way that I am.
Right.
You know, that the way that my energy flowed this way with these other people that I guess happened to be sort of like me, but they weren't. You know, because so sometimes, like, I think that that's where it kind of gets messed up, because we have this language to talk about it in terms of like sexuality or biology, but for me it's about my gender. You know, for me it's about the way I carry myself. I mean, even if I at that time would do the whole femme thing, you know, for church or whatever, I just looked like a bad drag queen. I really did. I looked like a broke down drag queen. I was uncomfortable and all of that. So it wasn't just necessarily about the fact that I was gay or whatever. You know, it was who I am.
Yeah, that's just
I understand what you say, because, you know, my mom, when I was being baptized as a young baby, maybe 6 months at that old, she had a real frizzy dress on with all the little ruffles and things. And she said I cried from the time she put it on to the time she took it off. So I would say I do it 6 months. Now, I remember the first time I told someone that there was a little girl in the 6th grade, and I told her I liked her and I wanted her to be my girlfriend. And it actually wasn't a bad experience. She smiled and hugged me. But she ended up being my brother's girlfriend. So when did you all come out?
I think when I actually came out to my family, and coming out the closet is relative in terms of who are you out to when you say that. Because you could be out to different people in your life at different moments or different aspects of your life. But I'm going to answer that question, but I just outed myself to my manager. Like last week we were talking, and I was like, oh my God, I just said that. And Wendy was like, Kevin, that's okay. We had been having some issues with a little bit how confrontational I can be sometimes, not pulling back. But anyway, that's another issue. But I think I was about 23 when I actually came out to my family and was comfortable in doing that. And it was hard. I remember there was a lot of emotions. And I remember my stepfather, when I told him, he actually said, what white man gave you that? So he thought that it was, but it's kind of odd because throughout my childhood, he was the one that was abusing me. You know,
But not identifying it.
But not identifying that he was getting pleasure out of that too. But you know, it's kind of odd that that was his warped sense of thinking. But you know, 23. Yeah.
I was 16 when I had my first girlfriend. Okay, and I was 21, and I can remember I was pregnant with my daughter. And I felt like I had did the deed society wanted me to do. And now it was time because it was killing me. You know, I had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend. I had to get drunk to sleep with the boyfriend. And I was darn sober because I wanted to know everything and feel everything with the girlfriend, right? And I just went to my mother and I told my mother, I said, I got something to tell you. And she said, what's that? I said, you know, I like girls. She said, well, I've been knowing that. And I'm like, damn, I went through all this shit. You know, for nothing, you know. And, you know, she said, you know, hey, you know, you're giving me, you know, a grandchild. And, you know, I mean, it was just like, with my family, I never experienced any gay bashing. Now, you know, my family and I come from a strong Southern Baptist family, you know, and not only them, me myself, you know, nobody loved the Lord like I love the Lord, okay, and I just never experienced that with my family. And I know you're going to ask that question, and I can hold off on that because I can tell you the first I experienced I was trauma.
That's another good story.
Yes.
We'll get to it. Sheila?
I really think that I was probably 12 or something. I used to do the Barbie thing with my girlfriend. Well, she was my girlfriend, but my friend that was a girl. And her mom was our Girl Scout leader, and we lived up and down the street from each other. So I was always spending time over there, and I didn't really like to play Barbies, but I liked playing live Barbies. And her mom, God, and all she did was she just shut the door and said, "Girls, I'll see you downstairs." So we got it together and went downstairs, and all she said was, I think that you shouldn't be having any kind of relations like that until you're older. There's some books that I can direct you to. And
sexual relations.
Well, I guess it was, no. I guess it was, I guess sexual relations. And so I think like that was the first time I learned lesbian. And so it got close to what I thought I was. And then to my friends, I would try it out on them, but they would just tell me not to say it anymore. And then I think I came out to my sister because I was working at a Girl Scout camp. I was 17. I know, I am. Every little stereotype you ever heard, I'm right there. I went to Girl Scout camp. My sister got a job, and I had to, come clean and tell her about all the other people that were there. Not really myself, but that they were my friends. And then I finally told her, and she just said, "Oh, I've been knowing that." And then it's been stages since. My brother told me a few years later that blood was thicker than water, and that he really said that there were only two things that he hated in the world, and that was queers and communists. But blood was thicker than water, and that he loved me. He has since recanted all of those things, but that's where his head was at that time. And and then it's just been stages. I always say I had my coming out as a queer person, and I say queer because my great grandmother used the word queer when she thought anything was curious, anything she wanted that she found interesting, she called queer, and so that's how I refer to myself and everybody. But I was named the director of ethnic student services at Ohio State. And I came by way as the coordinator of the GLBT student services at Ohio State. So I didn't even realize until the first day that I went to the office, I was sweating bullets because I knew at that time these two separate lives I had with my Black community and then with my more activist and queer and out community were going to collide in a way I had never thought, and that was probably the most difficult coming out as a non-straight person.
I know for me, and I'm going to answer some as we go along as well. I guess my parents addressed me at age 19 when I was in school. Some of you heard the story. Because my girlfriend lived with me, but she didn't attend college. So, that right there, presented some questions like, well, why is she living there if she doesn't go to school there? And my father passed away last year. He was a minister, AME minister, for many, many years. And his comment was that he would disown me. My mom wrote me a letter shortly thereafter and said, you need to get your life together. But as we had these conversations, and it was because my sister actually outed me to my parents, because she was the one that told them that I go to Wanda's dorm room and this young woman is always there. So at the point they questioned me about it, I just told them, and I don't know where it came from. I think a couple people the other day let me, help me figure that out. I told them, I don't know what you want, but if you're wanting me to choose between who I am and what you want me to be, you're not going to like what I choose. And from that point on, we just kind of didn't talk about it anymore. And I continued to take my girlfriend around, and they treated her just as they always did, nice. She was always welcome. But we didn't talk about it anymore. So I guess that was the beginning, and like you, it was stages for me. Because I couldn't even address that sister that outed me for years later. And that's what kept me depressed for so many years before I could start healing and really accepting who I was. It's a long story, so I won't keep going. In my door. I had a room by myself, but so it was easy to do. It was a good time. Needless to say, I didn't graduate from that university. But I did later on. Okay. Did you ever hear people speak of GLBT when you were growing up or when you were going through this process?
No. I didn't really hear the word actually. Even when I was living in Houston being the large metropolis that it is, I didn't hear it down there. I think the first time I really actually heard it in Sheila, I think you might have introduced me to it. I'm being very serious about that. Back in the days of the University of Ohio, when we were forging our path as gay,
Black activists.
Black activists, yeah, that's about a better word. And I think you introduced, because I was going to ask you, what does that mean? I see the letters, but no. I knew I was gay, but I think in the black community it was homosexual. That was like the pariah. That black people want to identify if you're gay, and I think that's when you. And this is probably going to another area. I don't know if you're going to ask this question, but I think that's why so many black men don't identify as gay, but they will call themselves on the down low or will want to be with a man for sexual gratification, but cannot call themselves gay. But they would do the act or want to be in the company of a man, So I think that's, I don't think in the black community you hear GLBT, you might hear gay or down low.
Really?
You don't think
hear
so?
Hard? No, I'm agreeing.
Okay.
You don't really hear it. You hear she's hard.
Right, or he's kind of soft,
or,
right, yeah.
But you didn't really hear those words,
I heard funny.
Funny, yeah.
Yeah, funny.
I heard Bud Aggie and Sissy.
Oh yeah, I got
when I was coming up.
Yeah,
It wasn't
Sissy
it wasn't it wasn't no thing. I ain't hearing about no GLBTQILI or that's the reality for me. I mean and not making funny, and I guess for me, because there were so many labels put on us, and I remember when I was doing the People of Color Council here, and someone was interviewing, I can't remember the magazine, guy meant no harm, and he referenced to me as queer, and I hit the ceiling. And what I wrote him in response to that, I pulled the word queer out of Webster's dictionary. Okay, because see, my thing is taking on those kind of labels like that for me is I equated them in, this is not to offend anybody, but I'm just keeping it real with the word nigga. Okay, so therefore I did not, do that. And I remember you had to either be Bud, when they said Bud Aggie, you had to be butch or film. They wanted you to choose who you was. And my thing is, I'm gonna be who I am. No, but no, are you over here or are you over there? I said, well, if you come at me, you'll find out where. You'll be wearing them cute little dresses. So I mean, I just didn't. Those what I heard when I was coming up, and they just didn't. Those type of things didn't really mean anything to me. I didn't associate myself with those because I was embracing who I was as a black woman, as a black young woman, coming out. And I didn't, even this word coming out, and when they say download, I say closet. Okay, I mean, it's just, so pretty. Let's dress it up so pretty.
Right.
It's closet, You're
still in the closet.
You're in the closet, that's all.
But you're not gonna get a black man to say that.
And I think they'll be more receptive to closet than down low.
You said you won't get a black man to say that? Is that because they don't,
Well,
you say you closeted, you're gay?
I don't know. It depends on, and I guess it goes back to who you're out to, in your life, who you're out. Or if you're living an out life on your job or with your friends and your family. I guess I can equate this. I go to a lot of straight bars as well as gay clubs, but like this past weekend, two guys I run with, all three of us are gay men, and we walk in, you know, a lot of the women in there, you know, they know they want to party with us and dance with us, but, you know, no threat. And we were just looking at some of the men that will come in the bar, come and going, that have either said something to us, hit on us, or still hit on a woman, you know. And it's just really mind-boggling that these men don't equate who they are, you know. But I mean, I guess it's just a socialization process. But I mean, I'm comfortable with who I am, but I guess, I don't know, it's who you're up to, I guess. That's such the terms are so interchangeable, you know.
Well, it's the thing about assumptions. You just, you know,
Right.
we want to, with this prepackaged world of ours, we want to just be able to say one thing and
Right.
go up, but you know, and let that be that. But really, whoever you're talking to, you got to fill that out. That's part of learning who they are.
Right.
You know, you can call me queer. I'll be all right with it,
Right.
even though that word has been used as something in the same ways as like nigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it has been used, but you know, I would not. But before I call somebody that one-on-one too, you know, you're gonna fill out the situation.
Right.
And sometimes I just feel like we don't want to take enough time, or we want to let you don't often get to hear, it to me sort of speaks to who gets to say what gets to be said about all of us.
Not all of us, right? Who we are as
You know,
people, right?
I mean, let's just get real with it. These are the type of words that the people that I know in my family would say white. To me, that's white,
Right.
like a lesbian, you know, or gay or something like that. That those words also have this white connotation to it. And I'm not that. That was a lot of the reasons why I didn't want to be that growing up, because I'm not that. I never saw anybody that looked like you. I mean, there was a few people, but they weren't called that.
Right.
So I never saw on those few articles, and there were articles. I mean, sometimes we like to try and act like the 21st century, 20th century are the only times anything was ever written about us gay people. What it is that we are really foolish and ignorant about our history. That's all it really is. We have been there present since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time. You know, if you look up, you'll be so convinced by who's telling us who we are and how we are and what we are, that we don't even look up to look and see each other in the eye. I mean, there's people I'm seeing here, I was like, well, dang, I didn't know that. I seen you in the store the other day. You know? But it's that type of thing, you know, this world has got us so we don't even recognize each other. Okay, I'll get off the ball.
No, you're sorry. But you know what? She spoke at a Qualia conference, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, which is when I said that she has to be here for this. But there were some things you said there that I'm going to touch on a little later on that I didn't realize. So, no, you speak your mind, tell me what you're thinking about. As far as GLBT jokes, songs, slang, and expressions, did you experience any of that when you were growing up or coming out when you were younger?
I'm not a person that professes to like to hear anything that's either a gay joke, a nigger joke, any type of joke, you know, and I would stand up if someone was telling them. I remember when we were here, that's when Kate Anderson was the executive director, and they had the racism dialogues. And I remember and Rob, you probably remember this, they separated us into 2 groups. But before that, I think the question was posed to the black participants, when was the first time, or do you remember the first time you were called a nigger? And I bet every black person in this room can, or African American, whatever you want to call yourself, can relate to the fact when you were called a nigger. You can remember that first time you had an incident where you were reminded of your place in the larger society. But we were separated and we were in different rooms, and we came up with the different terms and terminologies that are, I guess, focused on black people, or who we are, or what the larger society thinks who we are. And if you subscribe to that, then that's who you are. And then if you don't, you have to be comfortable within your own self and, you know, define who you are and not be a label. So,
When they were doing that, were they trying to explore racism at that point in the GLBT community?
I think in the larger community, I think what the whole gist of it was for the people that were the participants to go back out and, to who you come in contact with, not to necessarily educate people, but who you come in contact with, just to foster that knowledge into someone else, and I think this opened people's minds. Now, if someone's a racist, it's not going to take the fact that away from them, if they're going to be that, they're going to be that. I don't know if you can actually change someone's mind in a conversation about who they think someone else is and the perceived notions of what they think that person is. But I think if opening up dialogue can change it, I think it was a good thing.
China or she?
No, for me, not participating in it at all, because if I stay silent, I'm just as guilty as the person that's seeing this. Okay? And I have to make a decision whether to.
Could you speak up, please? People in the back can all hear you. Thank you, China.
I'm get you. You heard that, didn't you? I said, and I had to make a decision whether I'm going to be in collusion or not.
Right.
Okay, and one, I took an oath when I decided to become a cultural competence care trainer with United Way. Okay, and not be in collusion. I never have. The oath was easy for me. Okay, and when I hear people do that, and I've been through the study circle on racism, actually, because my job does it, and we have it.
Was that the one that was in conjunction with the YWCA?
Mm-hmm. Mary Haven had a study
Okay.
circle on racism. I'm actually a facilitator on that. And the goal is to touch on racism in different communities. One of the things that I know that we in the GLBT community don't like to touch on is those sticky areas, because we have it, okay? And they're very much real. Okay, and so what I hear a lot of those jokes, okay, it's actually coming from our people. Okay, and if someone else was to say that, then you would get upset.
Oh, yeah.
See, not only do I hold someone of a different race accountable, I hold us accountable also, because we also give them permission when we speak it out of our mouth. And so that's the reason why I try to be real. And every now, I'm not perfect. And my spiritual mentor tells me this all the time. Because what I'll say something and she'll say, "What did you say?" And I have to retract what I say and think about what I say. And I say, "Oh wow, no, I just didn't say that." Yeah, you did. So I have my different biases too. So one of my things is let it begin with me. First, I'm going to hold me accountable. Then I'm going to hold people like me that look like me accountable. Because if I do that, then it'll trickle down. Someone said something and it was a bad joke. It was a really bad joke at work. And the young lady didn't say anything. But she came in my office because I'm her supervisor, and she shared it with me. And I said, "Well, what was funny about it?" And she said, "Well, nothing." I said, "Well, I think that you should go back to that person and say that was not okay." And she got really nervous because she was afraid of confrontation. And that's what I see a lot of times, especially in our community, not wanting to make waves. Well, in order to heal as a community, we got to make waves. How else are we going to iron out the kinks? We got to say what's not okay and what is okay. And so those jokes, whether it be the in jokes, okay, or the gay jokes, or what are y'all going to be this year? Those jokes. I take those very, what are you going to call yourself this year? Are you going to make up your mind? And I'm like, what do you mean by that? How did you mean that? Because I put it back on them. Mm-hmm. And then when they don't see me smiling, they say, uh-oh. Then when they see the pen and the paper, they say, uh-oh, okay? Because I'm gonna charge you with it. You know, and that happens quite a bit, so.
But it took you a while to get to that though, right? I mean,
You know, I never, speaking my mind ain't never been one of my issues. Okay? I mean, I had to learn how to do it with polish.
Right.
Okay? Because I would be just really getting, you know, I'd give you a checkup from your neck up. Okay? I mean, and I'm just keeping it real. I do not use 50-cent words to describe 10-cent things. Okay? And I'm going, that has never been one of my, what has been my issues. Sometimes I say a little bit too much. Okay? And so now I'm learning how to pull back, to say so that the person can get the gist of what I'm saying. Because you can say too much and lose the person also.
that's the whole idea. I get you. What about you, Sheila? Jokes, songs, slang, expressions?
I had fancied myself once, really, I mean, if you go along our great gay way here along the short north into all the businesses and whatnot. And I've been here around Columbus, I guess it's about 79, and it's grown a lot, and I've been really excited about that. I like seeing the articles where it's in our city's in the top 10, top 5 places, GLBT places to live. And I think to myself, how diverse is it really? You know? And there are lots of incidents, but the ones to me that are really, that always stick in my head with this question is going into our local bookstore and getting followed, you know, because I guess people like me don't go into the gay bookstore and buy books or something. And then saying, you know, well, I was looking for books about people like me and being led to a section that's about this big. And then when I ask about more books, being told, well, if I wanted to look it up and bring a list, that they'd be more than happy to put that in there. And I think that those are the kind of covert ways that racism works. Because wait a minute, how the rest of these books get in here? I think somebody that probably wasn't off the street like me and not getting paid to work in here, I don't know, I think somebody probably looked that up. So, you know, I think about that. I think about the song, who put the S in Miller's and who put the T in the Budweiser. They used to be sung at a local nightclub. I was bar backing there, trying to get a bartending job. I was going to be the first black bartender in Columbus, queer, GLBT, whatever the hell it was, bartender in Columbus, Ohio, because it held a certain amount of stature, you know, because there wasn't a whole lot of places for us gay people to be. And I was trying to do that. And the staff at this particular place would sing that song on Black Night. You know, we had Black Night because we only got, you know, the good black music on Thursday night. It was Black Night. And the staff there they'd sing this song. You know, because sometimes you'll hear black people say, let me get that Miller's, you know, or let me get a Budweiser. I guess it sounds like a T. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of phonetics, but, you know, so I would say that's like one of those ones, you know, that's like one of those ones. And then saying to these same people, because I always have thought too, I was going to help bridge the gap. You know, I really took to heart that talented tent that W.E. Du Bois talks about. I took that to heart, and I took to heart like every February, January when you get to watch the march. You know, Martin Luther King up there. Took that to heart and really tried to step out in these places and make these bridges. And saying this to these, you know, white folk, right? I was the only dark drop of melanin with any part of the club, not even in the back in the kitchen. You know, it was just me. And try to say to them at our retreat, right? Out there in the middle of the woods, you know, say to them that this isn't cute. And just having to be laughed off. You know, and then trying to figure out a way to let that go so you can still love these people because they are trying to do a good thing. They are trying, you know. So yeah, I would say that's one of those open wounds, I think. One of those salted wounds.
Wanda, can I reiterate something? Sheila, you remember this. Remember when we marched in was it 19, and I'm going to bring up this because it needs to be said. It was several years ago, 1993 maybe, was it? 94. Diversity of Ohio, we were approached by Stonewall to...
Do you want to say what diversity is?
Diversity of Ohio, I guess I should explain what that is. We were, and it's been so long ago, activist group, I guess you want to say, is that correct, Sheila?
Well, we had noticed that, you know, I was in school then.
Because you approached me about being in groups.
And I hadn't really got real in touch with my black side until I got to college. Because my father got moved around a lot. He worked for Shift Shoes, which then was Sears. They got bought out by Sears. And he was a manager, a division manager. And for a black man, that was a really big thing to do. We had hit the middle class time, you know, like big time. But what it meant is that our family got to move with the new store openings like other people's families didn't. And we always took it because. So we had got up here. So to say that Sears always moved us, they didn't think about the neighborhoods they were moving us into. So, you know, many a time, my two brothers and sister and I, we were it. You know, we were it in the neighborhood, in the school. So to get to college and, you know, start taking the new African American study classes and all that kind of thing and getting down with my blackness, I had met Kevin. And in that,
it was raw and rough.
Who was, you know, just ready to fight, and a few other people, and we were trying to like get on. Stonewall was new then, and you know, we had sat. I licked the envelopes that went out to the original people who made this place happen that you're sitting in right here. Licked the envelopes just up the street. A little bit. Licked them and licked them and licked them. That was before anthrax and, you know, like it was with licking those. And then, you know, all of a sudden, it seemed like the only time that we would get invited to stuff would be we could do it on a scholarship, you know, and serve the plates and stuff like that. Whenever somebody was called in to talk or speak or whatever, they were from out of town. It wasn't from any of the people, you know what I'm saying? So we're like, well, wait a minute.
We formed our own group.
We formed our own group. You know, all of a sudden it wasn't, the things that were happening here did not include the voice, even though we sat and helped make the Constitution and these types of things, which you will probably find deep in the records. If anybody, you know, hidden somewhere. And then nothing.
Because we
didn't have enough money. We were working class
in Detroit.
stiffs.
Yeah, we used to go to all the conferences.
You know, all of this stuff. So we made this group called Diversity of Ohio.
And we were diverse.
A coalition of people of color. We had just got the word people of color. We didn't even know about it. It sounded good. And, you know, and you get caught up sometimes in that idea, yeah, a college education is and can be important, but it's not the only thing in life. Right. And sometimes you get lost in what's really important and what isn't while you're trying to get them 50-cent words. Right. You forget about the 10-cent words. You forget about who's scrubbing no, you don't. You try to overlook who's scrubbing the toilets while you're there studying in your book.
Right.
So we did this group and we would call then Stonewall to the task. We were a pain in the ass. We were. Kevin would call me like, girl,
Did you
you see? I'd be like, what? Because he knew my first reaction was like, boom, you know, go down there and we picketed Stonewall. I mean, we did all kinds of things. And
I remember when they sent Donna Link to our meeting, and everyone that was part of Diversity of Ohio was, because I guess Stonewall was trying to foster and harmony with Diversity of Ohio and bring us to the table, but they didn't know how. So they sent Donna Link, this straight black woman, to one of our meetings. We were meeting in Ohio Union. And I remember everybody was being all quiet, polite, and nice, but me. So I remember sitting, and I looked at her, I said, look, I'm just going to say it, and I'm going to say it out loud because everybody's thinking it. Why the hell are you here? And she looked at me, and actually to this day, Donna and I are still good friends. We communicate, do a lot of things together. But she's like, you know what, I'm glad somebody said that, got it off the table. And I was like, Kevin, well, you shouldn't. I was like, shut up. I should have said it, you know, because somebody needed to say it.
That was the one.
Because everybody was feeling, but let's be honest, if you're going to open up dialogue, be honest. Forget about somebody's feelings. Your feelings are going to get hurt, leave the room. Because it's about nobody's feelings.
So is this group still in existence?
No, because we start infighting and everybody, well.
You know, the pressure.
It was pressure. Well, then there were a lot of deaths too.
The pressure to.
It was crazy.
To try and do this, you know, our black friends were starting to say that we, you know, what did we think we were, the Black Panthers or something like that?
Well, we got that.
Because, you know, we decided, where are the black people during Pride? You know, and then what do we get back? Girl, you know black people don't do the heat.
Right.
But that's a but it's a kind of joke, right? It's a kind of joke that's sneaking and true. But it's the kind of thing that we keep to keep ourselves down too, right?
Yes.
And we would not be deterred.
But we marched in the parade and I got the steps together.
We did.
I tried to
We got
teach
steps together.
these non-dancing group of black people how to dance.
Because we were all, you know, from the university.
Right, and I was like, oh.
And, you know, so we had decided, tried to like participate in these types of things, and so we decided we wouldn't be so angry.
Well, did
But
someone
you know,
approach us
sometimes-
about marching
Yeah,
in the parade?
sometimes though, it's okay that people are angry.
Right.
They have to get that out. And I feel like when you're trying to bridge gaps and do that type of thing, you want to dance around it.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is that sometimes people get downright pissed off. And you have to sit in there and you have to work through it and you have to wrestle through it and you have to face it, and it hurt and it's painful, but you have to stay there, which is probably why we're here. That we have left this place so many times in a huff. It's not even funny.
They're here today.
You know, it's sad and it's tragic, but we can also say that we were the first black contingent coalition of dark-skinned people to march in the Columbus Pride Fest. The
Being
first
called niggas
one.
and all, we held our
You
head up
know,
high.
even though they had the motorcycles circling around. I mean, here it is in Columbus. This is no lie. This wasn't in the South.
No.
You know, it wasn't in the South. It was right here in front of Nationwide. Motorcycles circling around us because why? Because the folks that ran the organization of gay people at the time.
It wasn't planned.
That's in my conspiracy theory. You know,
I didn't know she was gonna say that.
they didn't know we had decided to step down Pride because we couldn't. There's a disconnect between the black community and the larger, what's called the larger gay community, which really isn't true if everybody would like get out to stuff. You see that at Pride, right? But we were trying to use a language that people would understand. In the African American community, the steps. So Kevin and his friend taught us some steps. We met and we got these steps together. That started the infighting right there. And that's what we did. But the folks here not trying to liaison thought step down meant what? Meant that we were going to stop Pride.
Yeah.
Next thing we know, I had the police showing up at my house, the police calling to check in, supposedly the police liaison, but I've never had any police officer bang on my door like that trying to liaison with me. You know, never had that happen. So, make a long story short, right here. In some of those areas.
Okay.
We're still here though.
We are.
We are still
That's a
here.
good thing. We still struggle today trying to get our community involved in Stonewall. It's still a challenge today. And we're still trying to bridge these gaps. But we will continue until we get this, until we get it
I
right.
think you got it. I think
Yeah.
all the work is coming together,
I just want to say real quick that, and that took, it has taken years to accomplish that, because just like I can remember when Jeff was here, and he came to us and he said, different groups came together and we formed the People of Color Council here, okay? And we got very active here. The problem that I see in some of the challenges in the Black community as it relates to the Black community getting involved is that we will, for the first couple of months, support something, okay? And I'm just gonna keep it real. And then after the first couple of months, it kind of die off, okay? Another thing is that we do a lot of things that's not associated with alcohol, okay? And so therefore, we do a lot of family stuff, okay? And so therefore, now are we going to bring family in, everything? Because if I'm representing us, like it or not, when you step out and somebody find out that you're gay, transgender, bisexual, whatever acronym you choose, okay, you are representing us at large, okay? And if all you see is alcohol associated with a lot of unlikely behaviors, then what is that going to say? Okay, so a lot of times what has happened in our community, we do things, but we do things maybe with a group of people. Now, I think that this is a very good thing, because I was very impressed when you called me. As I say it once, I say it again. I was very impressed, and I would support you in what you were trying to do because of the things that I am seeing today. Okay. Like workshops, like healthcare. This is community stuff, so I don't have a problem in supporting Center on High. Okay,
I hear you.
I really don't. But I will not be a part of a lot of alcohol, getting drunk and doing this, that, because I don't do it. And so, that's just me. I don't knock anybody who do. Now, I'm not going to say I don't go out, and I'm not going to say I'm a nun, because anybody know me know I'm not a nun. Okay? For real.
That was funny to you.
But what I am saying is that I pick and choose because of where I am today, what I want to show to my grandchildren, okay? What I want to show to my community around me, people around me, and what I want to represent, or what I choose to support. Now, if you about your business, just like the healthcare, did you email me, by the way? No, somebody emailed me. But anyway, trying to chat. But, healthcare, the workshops that's coming to healthcare fair and different things like that, I will be a part of, and I will also have my job be a part of it, because this is what I do. I'm charged to rebuild a community, not destroy a community. And I truly don't believe that the GLBT should be keep leaving that one out, should be separate from community, because we're part of a community.
You know what? I'm gonna stop her right here, because it's very interesting what they're talking about. Because what is Stonewall's mission at this point? Building a community center. And that is some of the changes we're trying to make at this point. The Center on High is building a community center and have programs and services for everyone.
That's right.
So, but we can't do it by ourselves.
That's right.
And the fact that we have all these people in here today, you you're gonna get, I know probably a lot of you I done bugged the mess out of with emails, but we're gonna reach out to you and ask what you can do to help, Lisa, stop it, help, to make this a new center for everybody. So, stay tuned. We hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm very
Okay.
very impressed and very honored to be a part of the birth of this. Okay, so go on to the next one.
Okay. I'm gonna go to Sheila for a minute. You identify yourself as a trans entertainer. Can you explain what that means?
Play around with gender is what, at the same time, I don't know, sometime around 96 or so, I had gone out to San Francisco. First time I went out to San Francisco, and the Gay and Lesbian Film Fest was going on. And there was a film show there that was called the Shinjuku Boys. And the Shinjuku Boys are these biological women, born women, who have a job every day, 7 days a week, in a karaoke bar restaurant. And these women, predominantly straight women, line up for hours at a time to come, and they pay a certain amount of money to sit and be wined and dined and sang to by these Shinjuku Boys. And so that sort of got me to thinking. And when I got back to here, I always had a big party for my birthday. And I always liked drag queens. I always did. I just, way back, I don't know, some of you may know Flip Wilson was back in the, I'm dating myself, back in the 60s and 70s, there was this comedian by the name of Flip Wilson, and he did Geraldine. And he had a weekly show, and it was a really big deal because it was the first time an African American, well then a Negro, had been given a comedy special that was all of his. And he did Geraldine, and that was my favorite. I love that part. And I would, when I was in the bathroom by myself, I would be pretending like I was Geraldine, because in those moments, I could feel this femininity in me. So I always sort of carried that and played around with it. And I would do it at certain times, with friends. And we decided that we were going to have a show. We had a person that was a DJ, and I said I knew I'd be a drag queen. And so I did myself all up. I was a mermaid that time. And I dressed myself up like no one had seen me before. I had eyelashes out here, nails. I was never caught outside of 6, 8, 10-inch heels, the whole glamour bit. And I named myself Lascivious de la Virgin. And so that, at that moment, I guess it was sort of a Victoria thing, but I hadn't even really seen that yet. I just knew, because people were like, how are you going to be a drag queen? You have to be this thing. These other women that were here were trying, the one woman came from Greece. And in Greece, they had drag kings. And so she told a couple people here, and we decided we would have a show. And I could MC as this drag queen, and they would do their drag king thing, and my friend would play the music. And from that, it's developed into this whole thing that's a whole nother story. But there is this character, my character is Lascivious, who eventually came out on stage as Luster. And Luster Lascivious is male. Lascivious is a drag king. I'm a drag king, which means that I play with gender. When you see Luster, he looks a lot more than I look right now. And he does drag queen. So I call myself a trans performer because I play with all kinds of gender. I don't just, we really quickly, we had a group, which was the first drag king troupe in the Midwest, called His Kings. And it was led by this Lascivious de la Virgin. And Stonewall those years did a parade, and you got to win floats. You got to do floats, so you got to do prizes for it. And for 4 years in a row, we won, and those queens just hated me because they kept telling me that it wasn't fair because I was already a woman. Well, those weren't the things they said. You know, they talked about my anatomy and why it made it not fair. But at the same time, it was as difficult for me to put on that feminine character. I mean, it takes me a good 6 to 8 hours to do it all because I have to get in the middle state to really do it, you know? But that's, you know, what it means to be, for me, as a trans entertainer. So one of the things that I do is go around and take these characters around and invite other people that perform like me to do shows and whatnot and play with it and say, you know, gender's just a word, it's just a definition.
So how many people of color or African Americans do you see doing that type of work?
Actually, more than you would think, but you have to go, you know, the West Coast, down south, and it's really about naming again, because in the South, they crack up if I refer to them as drag kings. They are studs, they are male illusionists, that's what they are. They are not a drag king. You know, they're not. Out in the West, they're trans men. You know, and you don't usually have in the West, they're usually living their lives as trans men. They're not going, sort of doing this back and forth, people would say, you know, but there are a lot more than you would think. But at the same time, you know, you have the balls in New York. That's what's going on. The butches and all of that stuff there. You know, there's all this kind of trans stuff going on. People just start calling it that. We've had the balls and all of that stuff. You know, you just win money and whatnot for it. You know, they're not necessarily out here doing it for the purpose of art. You know, it is art. Don't get me wrong. But you know, to me, Black people, you know, we're going to get, what are those 7 things or whatever it is. There's some things we have to take care of. Economically, oftentimes the differences that I find between who's doing it for art and who's doing it as art, but a paid art, you know, has to do with economics. And I'll find people of color and Black people and Latino people especially in those spaces where there's a direct economic benefit to the art that they're putting on.
I'm gonna ask a few more questions off this sheet, and then I'm gonna open it up to the floor, because we probably could go all night, and I know you all wanna go home at some point. So, Kevin, how does religion influence your life as a gay man?
Big influence. Probably not so much now. What is an influence? But as a kid, coming up in the AME church, you know, going with my grandmother to church and sit up straight boy and don't talk when the pastor's talking boy and getting popped in the back of the head was just part of my evolution into a young Black man. But very big part, because if you didn't go to church on Sundays, you didn't go anywhere. And I remember you faking asthma attacks when I didn't go to church. And my mom was like, well, if you're too sick to go to church, we'll go to the doctor. So, but it's a very big part, and there was a lot of conflict. But I think the conflict of being a survivor of childhood abuse and religion and being gay, there were like so many things going on in my mind when I was coming up, like, you know, where am I? You know, where am I in this bigger picture? Who am I going to be? But I think probably religion kept me grounded. I question it now so much so because the Black church, even when I was like doing some research on HIV and AIDS and just wanting to get some perspective on the Black church, and I approached a couple of ministers and they will remain unnamed. But I had one minister that asked me, are you sure you're gay? And my response to him, I said, well, no disrespect, but do I need to demonstrate? Probably somewhere purgatory like that. But I mean, it's this thing that the black church is so distant, you know. They're so distant, and you know, I think the conversation ended when I said that, but I mean, that's okay too, but you have to be real about it. We have AIDS that is running rampant with black women. Black women represent 46% of all new HIV infections, but we only make up 13% of the population. I mean, you have to look at that. And the black church, the people that I did talk to, they did have abstinence programs, which is okay. Faith-based abstinence programs, that's fine. But that's only a starting point. If you have somebody that is already sexually active, you have to take care, excuse me, of your sexual health. And the church, the black church especially, because we're talking about being black and gay, they identify HIV, AIDS with being gay or homosexual or white. And it's not.
Or from Africa.
Or from Africa. And you know, as long as you can go to Africa and do some work, it's okay, but we need to do the work here. But so yeah, but to get back to your question, I kind of rambled there. But yeah, I think religion is very important, but I'm probably more of a spiritual person. And I stay true to myself. I shoot from the hip. I don't pull any punches when I deal with people. When people talk to me, they know what they're getting. I don't sugarcoat shit, because I don't have to. If I hurt your feelings, I will apologize. But you get what you get when you have a conversation with me. For those people that know me, they know that. As I've gotten older, I've probably mellowed out some. Stop. I said some. But you know, I think in order for this dialogue that we're having right now, I hope it continues when we leave this room. I hope people just don't take it as this the month of pride and we all come together as we are family, because that's a bunch of shit. We're not all one family. You know, we are one under the umbrella, but you know, those are words for one day. You know, June 23rd, take it back and take it back to your community. Take it back to your children and teach them about themselves so they can be comfortable with themselves as little girls and little boys. And if they grow up to be whatever, love them. You know, I remember, and I'm gonna go back to my childhood because I remember telling my mother, you know, my mother asked me if I was sure. I'm like, well, you know, I was there and it happened. You know? I remember talking to my sister as we became adults, you know, and, you know, the things that we went through. And I'm like, it's a wonder if I'm still sitting here as a sane person. But I am, because there is recovery. Praise the Lord. But I just remember approaching my stepfather as a grown man. Me and my sister flew to Miami, and we interrupted their reunion, family reunion. And we just confronted him, and he just was stone-faced. But I think that did so much for me as a gay man, because I finally realized that you don't have that power over me. Not that what he did made me gay, but I think, you know, just the power of forgiveness. When you forgive, not what the person did, but to forgive so you can move on. So you don't have that poison eating at you. I think that is really what was so cathartic for that moment for me, just to confront and say, I don't need you, I don't need to hear whatever, because you know it's going to be denial. But I think as a community, we just need to teach our children to love themselves, you know, and to accept them for whoever they are and love them. And I think for the bigger picture, we're going to have a healthier community. There's always going to be isms, whether it's sexism, racism, but I think we need to check ourselves and be honest, you know, and leave your emotional baggage sometime at the door when you're dealing with somebody. And when you're listening and opening up to receive whatever they have to say to you, you might walk away a little bit more educated than what you left when you came in the door. Thank you.
China, how has religion influenced your coming out or being a member of the GLBT, or whatever term you want to use?
You know, as I said earlier, no one loves the Lord like I love the Lord. Okay, and I do go to church. That's my foundation, and I stand firm on it. First of all, I'm a firm believer that man can't convict me. Only God can convict me. Okay? And it's, for me, it's about knowing the word for yourself. You know, and that's what that's really about. And, you know, yeah, you know, I have been to some churches. One of the reasons why I left my church a little while back, but the church, when I went over to Advent, was because the minister, okay, and something that he said rubbed me the wrong way. And basically, I walked up to him and I told him, I said, you ain't gotta stutter when you say the word homosexual. Okay. And he said, sister, I ain't stuttering, And I said, because man can't convict me, but God can. And what takes me to a real good book is called Gay, Black, and Christian. Okay. And this guy's experience. And it's about really knowing the word for yourself. And what I realized is when I went back to Advent, because that's where my mother and I had, what was there. And one of the things that, in Reverend Shooter's Dynamite, and if you ever want somebody to do community and support social justice in the community, she's one of the ministers that is one of the leaders in the community that will, because there are Black ministers that will in churches that do support the community at large. But I went there, and I went there as I was nurturing what I say my womb. And I went in prayer meditation and really thought about it. And I had left my church home. I left my church home with people that I was very comfortable with, that loved me, that knew me, and that held me accountable. And, it took me back to the book, Gay, Black, and Christian. And as Black folks, what we do is, instead of standing for something, we move on. And I had to take a position. And so up popped me 2 months later. I'm back. And I sat in the front. And and he couldn't do nothing but come and embrace me, because I shall not be moved.
All right.
Okay, I shall not be moved. Because what I know is, whatever happens, it ain't gonna have no gender in it, no way. To my understanding, how I know the word, okay? And that's just where I am, and it's just my core, and I am a very spiritual person. Religion is a practice, and it's man-made. It also speaks of that in the word, and that you're always gonna fall short. So, I'm trying to continue my spiritual growth. And I take a position in, I'm one that love a fight. I do. I'm one that strongly believes, I love a fight. So, if you tell me that you don't stutter when you say the word homosexual, I'm going to hold you to it. Okay, you don't stutter, so I'm going to sit in the front seat so you can go ahead and stutter. I'm just being bad, but no, I really, that is, my brother's a minister, as you know. Lives in Atlanta. His wife is a minister. My sister, she is a deaconess. I have another brother that's a deacon. It just, all my friends. As a matter of fact, I have more heterosexual friends than I have gay friends. I used to say this one joke when I worked for this one agency. I said, "Is there any straight people up in here? I need some diversity." But I better behave, because my little executive director is sitting down the audience. But he's my friend and I love him. But the bottom line is that religion is a man-made thing. I look as to being spiritual and being a woman of God.
Well, I'm going to open the floor now for a few questions. And then we will close this out for the evening. Do we have any questions?
Well, my question is kind of follows up with that Sheila and Chad were talking about earlier, going to the community. So my question is, where do we go from here? We've got people here. There's obviously others connected to each of us. So what are we doing now to keep this community to build and grow and do something stable in the city?
You sure can. Go ahead, bro.
I'm going to tell you what we're doing.
Okay.
Let me stand up. What Stonewall's doing. We have a group of individuals who are reaching out. We're going to different places in the community, trying to start networking and getting that dialogue and getting everybody comfortable with one another so we can all come here and use this space. so we can all, benefit from this. Now we have, everything I keep running into is, well, in the past. Well, we're going to heal from the past, and we're going to move forward. That's the only way we're going to get through it. We got to talk about it so we can heal from it, and then we're going to move forward. Now, hopefully, I have some people that have joined on board as far as doing this, and hopefully we'll get more. Now, I don't know what the rest want to say, but that's what I want to say about Stonewall in this community.
Can I reiterate something, Wanda? Because I met Wanda actually tonight was my first time actually meeting Wanda.
But we've talked a lot.
We had talked on the phone, and how we actually initially had contact was, I think it was through Rob Berger, and I called, through Romaine Willoughby, actually. Romaine. And give props where props are due. And then I initially called Wanda, and I was like, how are you going to have a quorum about black and gay back in the day, but I don't see any black gay's name on the program? And then it's like, well, we put the feelers out there, but nobody's called back. I was like, well, I'm calling. But anyway, and I remember speaking to you, and I remember, but you brought me back to the present because I was so busy talking about what happened in the past with Stonewall, my affiliation with them. And even if you're going to be passionate about something, which I am, you have to stay in that thrones of that passion if you're going to see the work. My grandmother always told me something, God rest her soul. Baby, life throws you curves. Stay in that curve to God teach you that lesson. You don't come out of it because you might block your blessing. And I'm glad that, you came and, came back into my life, and I came back into my life, that you brought Stonewall back into my life, because I think if you're going to be outspoken, if you want to do something for your community, if you see things that you don't like, you have to be part of the change. If not, you're part of the problem.
Exactly.
And you can't talk about what somebody did to you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it's done, move on.
If you're not going to do anything.
If you're not going to do anything about it, and right.
Exactly.
And I think you have to, I know one thing that I want to do, Cam and I were talking about, I've got a bunch of books and articles and those types of things about being black and gay. I just heard about a book today that I didn't know about, and I feel like I'm checking stuff all the time. I had just found out about a series of books around being black, Appalachian, which I am, being from Southern Ohio, and gay. So one of the things I was thinking is just having another discussion, setting up before I left here with Wanda, another discussion group around whatever it is that interests me. And I think sometimes we get the internet is great and all this access to things is great, but we get caught up in sitting there on our butts watching it or being lost in it when you're saying, well, there's nothing for me. Well, what did you do today? What did you do? You probably got 5 friends that have come for a free movie if you told them. You probably got somebody who would throw some beans and rice together in a pot and bring it. Because tell the truth, food and those types of things, will bring us together. Where that is our culture, that is what we are around. I just wanted to touch back some more on what China was saying in terms of, it's more of this community one-on-one. Let's get together for a potluck once a month. And instead of talking about what somebody doesn't have there, you say, well, I don't have enough time. Well, you had enough time to sit there and bitch and moan about it. You had enough time to call up whoever it was to say, girl, they did it again, blah, blah, blah. And all of this energy to not do it, to not do it. One of the lessons that I really learned being at Ohio State in ethnic student services was I decided then that I had spent a lot of time hearing all of this stuff about where Black folks, people of color, are not seen at Ohio State. We're not in the scarlet and gray thing. People don't come out to that. People don't come out to Black people don't come out to homecoming. The Latinos don't come out to the pizza party, this type of thing. Until one day I was just sitting there and I just heard, well, why not? And we just went to each of the offices, got a couple people from each place, and said, we're going to do the homecoming. It was the first time in 13 years. And then I realized we had been thinking about, we had spent weeks trying to think of all these grand ideas of plans that we would do for people. And all it was, you know, we're going to have a potluck and we're going to march in homecoming. We're going to give people some t-shirts and some things like that. And they came out. And it's that simple. Mm-hmm. And then what started happening is the person saying, well, I wanted to see this movie. If y'all get the pizza, then that's what we'll do. Right. And it just works like that. It's not getting frustrated. It's trying to get the whole community, this few people. If you got 5 people, I had last week for this series, I talked to someone later and they were like, well, last week there weren't as many people. And they were like, well, you know, there weren't that many people. But I'm like, no. That you have to remember that it's for those people that come out. Yep. They're the people that were sitting around there waiting for it. And you could do that too. Get your 3 people. This space is free. You guys got to call somebody and sign it up. And we got it. You know, there was Afro rhythm drumming up here Monday. You know, and it's that type of thing. But you have to make the effort. You have to come out. If you see the website don't have all the information on it that you want, and you know how to do that, then you come here and you give an hour or you something like that. I mean, it's really in community participation is, I guess, what I'm saying. That we have to get away from talking about what doesn't happen and less.
Because it's hard to work. Coming and helping.
It is hard.
It is.
It is hard.
It's hard keeping that going.
Well, I think and one of the things and what comes to mind, and I just got to say this real quick, for our community, and the reason why I'm saying our community, and I'm addressing us Black folks, that we got to still, we got to look at and take and go into reality. And this is not to step on anybody's toes, but we're not going to get that 40 acres in a mule if we don't work for it. Okay, and that's where I am with that. And we have been conditioned so bad to sit back and complain, okay, about not having. If we don't take some ownership and step up out of that and start saying, okay, yeah, historically, no, Stonewall has not been there for the Black community. We know that. That ain't no myth. Come on. But that's historically. Mm-hmm. Let's make some new history. How things begin to happen is people begin to hold them accountable, you know. And I seen the march in California, how Latinos was beginning to hold folks accountable. Now, if they can come together and hold folks accountable, why can't we come together and hold folks accountable? But see, if you're going to hold folks accountable, you got to first be accountable.
Right.
Okay? And that's my biggest thing. We don't want to be accountable. What we want to do is we want to sit back, and one of my very best books say, complain about the sad state of the nation. Just like the retired businessman sitting in Florida on his laurels, complaining about the sad state of the nation. Okay? And it's time that we stop doing that and take a stand. It's also time, rather than us trying to go in, because I truly believe we need more than one project. I truly believe that, first of all. Make no mistake about it, we do, okay? But at the same time, why don't we utilize what we have, okay? If you can utilize what we have and build and extend, we will become powerful. And you know, that's just That's just my take on it. I mean, I look at a lot of things, I see a lot of things, I don't say much, and what I don't see either, I don't see any African Americans in political positions stepping up and saying, hey, hello, I'm gay, because of the fear factor. And let's keep this real. Okay? It is the fear factor in, but you see, you know, Mayor Joe and them, they, you know, hey. You know, and the fear is real. The fear is real, but we have a lot of people in high positions and key positions in government that is gay.
Exactly. That's the thing that's right there, is that we're already there.
Yeah.
We're already there, you know it.
But that's a double discrimination activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone who is black and gay, in that environment, he or she potentially is put on the line to be discriminated against, to lose jobs, to lose everything that they perceive they work for to get where they are. And a lot of people are not willing to take that risk. Based on that level of how we are being accepted and received within the communities. Not only in the white community, but in our own community. We know there are gay ministers in the pulpit, but they ain't gonna say that. There are gay people in Congress and U.S. Senate. We know them. You'll see them at different events, but they're not gonna have no flag or pin on in the U.S. Congress.
No, you're right.
How do you get them? You might never get them.
Exactly.
You deal with the people that are willing to step out to make the difference and to be aggressive about the issue.
Carter, I agree with you. I think you have to build a coalition. What you have, start with what you have.
Start with what you have.
Build the grassroots, like you talk about, a potluck, you know. Food brings people together, you know. And you open up ideals and change and talk about that. So I think it's just dealing with, I know for myself, speaking for myself, I know it's a starting point for me to get involved again. You know.
We have any more questions? Stand up.
I think we missed a very good opportunity with the Quality Ohio, the lobby day down at the State House. Those of you who don't know, there's a lot of legislators out there that are trying to legislate our lifestyle by not letting us adopt, by not letting us foster, by not letting us be partners with each other and get benefits with each other. This administration that's going on right now is the best thing we're going to get. So if we don't take advantage of it, then it's our own fault. I participated in Lobby Day because I could take a day off work and go down there.
You mean state administration right now, not the national
Well,
administration?
no, we're talking about the governor.
You're talking about Ohio.
Ohio,
Not
right
the
here.
federal government.
Right.
Yeah, that administration.
Right. I'm talking about
Are they sure?
Lobby Day, I would say I saw 7 black people. You were there. 7 out of 400 people. We had FaceTime with either the legislator or the legislator's aide to discuss issues that were pertinent to being gay people. And guess what? You slide in that you happen to be an African American and you're tired of being discriminated because of your color, because of who you love, and gender. We have to take advantage of these situations when they present themselves. It didn't cost a dime. And we got Joyce Beatty, who those of you don't know, who's a state rep that's about to go out. She's promoting an African American gay male to fill her position. But we have to support her and we have to support him.
Right.
When we were invisible, and that's our own fault, we were invisible. And so we can't keep complaining and then we don't step out. Because you didn't have to step out as a gay man or woman. You could have been an ally there. If you didn't want to come out as a gay person, you could have been an ally. And they didn't ask you, are you a lesbian? Are you a gay man? So we gotta, take advantage of those opportunities. And as an African American with our youth, we are gonna lose them. We're gonna lose them for them being gay and not having any mentors and positive role models. And we're gonna lose them because we won't be able to foster and adopt our own African American kids.
You gotta speak, sister.
And that should be what our motivation is, to save our African American kids, because they're gonna be gone.
Yes.
We're gonna lose them, one way or another. Not to take away from whites adopting them, whites fostering them, or because of our lifestyle, we can't even foster or adopt them. So
Exactly.
let's get on the bus and take care of our business.
All right, girl.
Do we have any more questions or comments? Linda?
I just wanted to make sure that everyone signed the listserv back there, because it sounds like you all really want to get together, and I'm sure that Wanda's gonna make that happen. The space is available, and I'm sure she's gonna schedule it, and you're all gonna get together again, but please make sure on the listserv so she can get hold of you. It's been very exciting today.
I just wanted to follow up to what Dia had said about Equality Ohio. There's a meeting, a regional meeting in August, and forget the date, but I'm sure you can do it on the website. But it's a meeting to draw people together in the region to talk about issues that we are concerned about, and to get the face and to get other allies in the struggle. So just if you want more information, I would go to that website just so you can find out the day and so we can represent.
You said it was Equality Ohio?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Rachel?
Okay, I had a question. If you've noticed anything has changed in a generational sense, are the younger people in like high school or college more open and out than people of older generations?
I would probably say yes. You talking about just gay people in general or
Yes.
black? I would say yes. I don't want to say just black, but I think younger gay youth, yeah, they're more accepting. I was standing downtown today when I got off work this morning and was running to CVS, doing some errands, and I happened to see these two young, beautiful black women, and they were holding hands. And I was sitting there talking to a friend of mine. I was like, wow. You know, you don't normally see that in Columbus, not because you're in specific geographical location, Short North, Old Town East, German Village. And I was like, wow, that was so powerful, because I don't know if I would have, me being the strong person I think I am, or I profess to be, I don't know if I would be that bold or brazen to hold my man's hand, like that. But, yeah, I think it's changed.
I remember not too long ago, I was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was dating this young lady out of Cleveland, and we went into the Golden Corral on Sunday, and she grabbed my hand, and she grabbed my hand, and I said, and it was just by habit,
Right.
okay, because what's in Golden Corral on Sunday?
Church.
Okay, and it was just so funny. I started because I'm 48 years old. I'm a proud 48. Okay, and she kind of looked at me, and me and my best friend, because my best friend was with her partner, and we started laughing because they had been out about like 9 years, right? And they got this pro-gay thing going on, and I just started laughing. I said, so there's some things I will do, and there's some things that I won't do, so and just really, so it has changed, and people are coming out now. I'm a lot more reserved, but I guess I'm reserved because of the era I came out in.
Right.
Okay, and so I do try to get out of the habit now and then, when I get lucky and get a date and maybe, put my arm around a young lady or something like that. But, really and truly, I'm just joking. But really and truly, it has changed a lot. But then also I take into account because they're not looking as though they're gay. A lot of this is a fad going on. This is a thing to do. Okay.
Well, you have a lot of vicarious.
Yeah, and and they just want to experience a little something. Just have a little fun. Well, not with me, but
I think people. I know that I've been watching students, and it has changed. One of the things that has changed, in my opinion, is that the students, the gay students, queer students that are coming through are a bit disconnected from the political climate. They've got this idea that everything's okie dokie, and that that's old stuff. Right. They don't have to worry about it because they can walk down the street right here holding hands and flitting back and forth and all of those types of things, that somehow that's for old people to worry about, or at least not them to worry about. You know, that even in these times of all of this crazy upheaval, civil upheaval, they're even more disconnected than before, and they don't come to the university with the majority. Now, there are people, don't get me wrong, but the majority did not come with the same drive that I saw out of students to hit the streets, to speak up, to do these types of things. And that, you know, it's more about what you can, you know, I worry about this idea that to be homosexual is to be affluent, you know, is to have the newest, fattest thing that there is around, all of that type of thing, or just not worrying about it. And the ones that are active seem to be more worrying about more social issues. Not, you know, gay marriage isn't necessarily at the forefront, you know, and for me, it's not at the forefront. And I'm married to a woman, you know, and I think it's important, but at the same time, I'm worrying about whether the kids in my hood can eat, can go to school without, you know, with maybe just a teacher that didn't expect them to fail. You know, it's that those types of things. You know, I want to see our community, our school, public school system is a shamble. And the schools in our gay meccas, these little gay meccas, are some of the worst. You know, we have a group of, and I say this time and time again because I feel like if I say it enough, it will happen. We have this big long list of gay GLB realtors, right? And insurance people, right? But we do not have a housing, any kind of program for our displaced gay youth. You go over to the what is it, Huckleberry House, and you go up in there, and what do you find? All these over 90% gay youth, and over 50% of those are kids of color. Now that is a travesty, and that pisses me off. I do not understand. We'll spend all this money, like you said, to have some boys with water splashed all over their scantily clothed balls, and, you know, women shaking their breasts and doing all of this stuff when these kids don't even have any, and they can only stay there 5 days. Right. So they keep cycling in and out. A child that I'm working with now has been dealing with his queer trans identity, trouble with it, since he was in second grade. Second grade. And you know what they did? They put him in the dumb class because they couldn't understand why he couldn't focus. Right? So it's those types of things that I don't even know why I got on that tangent. I think because she said the thing about kids, because it's passion to me. And then I feel like for communities of color, those are those areas. Right. Let's organize and get to the school. It doesn't have to be about a gay thing then. It could be led by us, but it doesn't have to be about a gay thing. We got all these teenagers out here at these bars who welcome them in, who let them, you stand there and you watch them going in, person after person, while these old ass people like me troll around and try to get them some young trade. And it's a shame. And that's all they think about when I talk to these kids. I happen to have finally found a church home that we came in our big queer selves. We came in like that. My wife was pregnant, and I grew up in the church. I come from a family of preachers on both sides. It was important to me that my daughter, I had gone away because I had convinced myself that God didn't want me in his house. I convinced myself of that. Nobody else. Everything else just reinforced it. See? Because we'll believe these lies. It's easier. And these kids think that all that gay is about is what's between their legs. What they can smack up, flip, and rub down. That's it. And where are we in that? Just watching these kids.
Well, one of the things that, and I just really want to say real quick is, one of the things that I did was I started bringing to my agency was GLBT trainings. Okay? The agency that I had left, went back to, I'm back to. And I am also on the GLBT committee because they have that. And what we do is educate because we have an adolescent unit. Okay? In fact, it was a little humorous for me when every time they would get a young lady, they had this young lady that was on the adolescent unit, and she was gay, and all the little girls liked her. And they didn't know what to do, and I was cracking up, But what I did was I took the young lady in, and I set her in my office, and I proceeded to talk with her, and told her that she had to be a role model. Okay. And for me, I am proud to say that, my agency is very active when it comes to addressing those issues. Unfortunately, the whole, the social services is not, but our agency is. And I think one of the things that we got to do as, when you said, well, we don't have to go in, we can teach and we don't have to form, but I think we do. I think we do have to have gay committees in the agencies. I think we do have to have trainings. I remember one of the nurses found out that a young lady was HIV positive, and she wrote the word bleach on a bottle. A nurse. And that's when I realized that they needed HIV and AIDS training. Okay? And so I guess for me, rather than to look and see what I can take from a situation, I'm looking at as a social justice advocate.
All your job.
To see what I can bring to. And if that's at my job, then let it be at my job, because that, Columbus, Ohio got this thing on diversity. We're so diverse. Well, let's hold them to it.
That's right.
Hold them to it. And that's what it takes, just hold them to it. And I'm proud to say, Wanda dropped us off about 5 boxes of lavender listings. They look forward to them every year,
We got some new ones now.
We got some new ones, I'm making some more, but they know. They know who I am. I am who I am. I don't go in there and saying, hey, I'm gay today, but they know who I am. And they know what I stand for. So I think it's like, let it begin with us. And the only way we can get the housing and stuff for those adolescents is begin to have that healthy dialogue. But one of the things, what we want to do a lot of times is we want folks to hear us. But we got to also hear them. Okay?
Sheila, were you involved in the coming out movie that's going to be at the Drexel Gateway this week?
I don't think so.
Oh. I didn't know if that was an OSU project or.
You don't know which film you're in, do you? You don't know which film you're in.
I haven't done it coming. Well, a long time ago, but I never did see that. I don't think it's big enough.
It's at the Drexel Drexel Gateway on campus tomorrow.
It's on campus.
Well,
but I feel a little bit responsible because I think that's in conjunction with Ohio State, and the coordinator that is there now was my second graduate student. So, sometimes I just like to say, well, yeah, that is part of mine. And it's, sometimes I feel like, oh, don't toot your own horn, but I think it's important that we, like we were talking today, remember that we have stuff to share and to give and to connect people, and that is a big deal. There wasn't anybody in Columbus, and to my knowledge at that time, I was the big dike on campus. That's what people used to refer
But I
to
bet
me
you
as.
use a big old queer.
You know, as this the big dike on campus, and for it to be in this bag, you know, to come in this skin has just been a really high point for me, and I'm happy. I mean, as much as I like to remind people where we've come from and that it has been a struggle, I know that struggle has me sitting in this seat right now. I am so grateful, so very, very grateful that you all would come out and spend your evening with us on these topics and issues. It is truly a blessing. It truly is, because there have been times in my life I really thought that I'd be dead before I would see that here in my hometown. We need to do a better job in Columbus, Ohio, of celebrating this diversity we tout around the nation and the world. We need to do a better job of it. We have all kinds of stars in our community seated right here or within 100 miles of this place right here. It doesn't have to be like that, you know, and it doesn't always have to, you know, to be so hard to get people. You know, you got these mentors out there. We're just waiting for you to give us a call and ask us to be somewhere. It is our life goal in charge. You know, it's kind of like I'm not a psychic, but I can't get away from this. I can't get away from putting myself out here and saying, you know, come on, people now.
We don't, well, I was gonna say we're gonna take one more, but let me take you first, then you, and then we're gonna end it, and we're gonna schedule something else to come back and finish up what we're doing.
Yeah, I heard a lot of really wonderful ideas, and just like, you know, like all meetings, everybody throws their ideas out there, and it's time to wrap them up. And so someone, I'm sure, was taking notes as to which kind of committees that we're getting ready to start, correct?
We got it on tape.
Yes.
That's one big note.
Which ad hoc committees we're gonna have, and I'm sure you have plenty of volunteers to supervise and get those things going, correct?
No, but I can take your name first.
Yeah. You take my name first. That's the only other thing that I would like to add, is that I do come to a lot of meetings, and I do find that we always leave with a lot of great ideas. We always voice ourselves.
Yeah.
And make sure then that we do follow up on it. I have talked to you about what my passions are, and I was really quite happy to hear that not too many of us talked about as the one thing in our lives, and that was being, in my term is DSO, which is diverse sexual orientation, and that is because I'm a lot older. And she wants to be queer, but I'm diverse sexual orientation. Okay, so that again, it's a matter of picking up labels. But what I really enjoyed was the fact that we talked about the politics, and we talked about education, and we talked about adoption of children, and we talked about health. We talked about all those other issues, and those are also my passions. And so to you, I say I'm a toxicologist, medical technologist, and I'm an assistant professor at times, and so you and I should hook up. Word.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm saying.
That's about it. Connections.
I just wanted to kind of leave people with an idea of organizing. This is a unique opportunity that Columbus has. I just finished up in the 2007 class of Leadership Columbus. There were only 2 openly gay people in Leadership Columbus, Lynn Bowden and myself. There is a unique opportunity in the city. I sit on the Columbus Community Relations Commission as an openly gay black male. And I got appointed by the mayor, city council voted, and I tell you, almost all the city leaders that I have met with, all the community leaders I have met with, a number of them have been out there and have been very pro-gay and fighting and advocating for us. And almost every time, you know what they tell me? Where were we? Mm-hmm. Some of them have really taken some serious stances. Janet Jackson took some serious beating up from the pulpit in terms of a lot of the ministers, when she continued to support what her board and what the people felt was the right thing for United Way to do, is to pass a policy that was all about inclusion.
Right.
Okay? Yvette McGee Brown, I can keep naming a number of people who have really done the bat for our community, but we have been invisible. The opportunities are there. We need to be on boards, we need to be on commissions. When you talk about the services and the services that people are or are not getting, that's how they get them. Because we're there, if you're there, you can talk about it. You can say, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we serving this? And then if we are serving, why aren't we serving them culturally competent? In a culturally competent manner.
That's right.
So I encourage you, as you get involved here, Barbara, you're right, it's a community. Education, children, mentorship. You know, give back to the community. And then you'll see more of us, and more of us will be proud to be out, proud to be okay to be spoken to. I'm encouraged, please get involved. It is so needed, it is overdue. And the community right now, Columbus is very ripe for it. I've been embraced everywhere I've gone, and I don't go anywhere in the door to not say I'm black, I'm gay.
Aaron, don't leave without me getting your number. Don't leave without me getting your number. Not for social.
I want to introduce myself to everyone, but I'm a member of Beta Phi Omega Sorority Incorporated, and we are a multicultural lesbian sorority, which is new to here in Columbus. And for Stonewall, we want to come out and get involved and, live our services.
Okay. Make sure you leave your name.
Yeah, you got a card.
I just wanted to say, and I'll stand up because my voice won't carry. I thought I'd be remiss if I didn't also say that we need to, as we come together, potluck 2 or 3 people who are in committees, that's all wonderful. But I think, I did some Equality Ohio stuff vicariously because I couldn't get away from work. And I'm at the university. But what I find is that part of my work also is helping, to use Cornel West's words, those good right thinking white brothers and sisters, to help them understand that they also need to come to the table. Because at Ohio State, if I'm talking about GLBT issues, I could see 50 or more people come together. If I'm talking about the literacy levels of children in Columbus public schools who are not being served well, some of those same people aren't at the table. So it's about the education of everybody to take on not just these single issues, but to see how these issues are connected in ways so that the gay, lesbian, transgender folks that I work with at the university don't see if we're talking about equity in marriage. Okay, yeah, let's all get together and sign this petition and do this. But when I bring some stuff from Marian Wright Edelman about the Children's Defense Fund, they're absent. We can't get them to the table. So that's an education thing that needs to happen. And I see that as another thing that we can do, because what happens is we privilege one thing over the other. And if we sit around and let that happen, then I think you're also just remiss in some of the work we need to do.
I want to thank these 2 young ladies right here. They were here last Friday for a People of Color initiative, and here they are back today. I told Leap in the back, she was there, and I said, I meant to go home Friday night and email them. I know it would have been awfully quick, but to say thank you for coming out and I wanted you to get involved. And I checked my email on Monday. They emailed me Friday night. And I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and getting involved and listening to us discuss all the issues from the past and healing and moving forward. I would just want to say next week we have another panel discussion. It's going to be cruising, male dating, and sex before AIDS in the internet. That's from 7 and probably till 8:30 or 9, depending on how energetic the audience is like this one. And after that, we'll have our 3rd monthly Stonewall on Touch initiative. That's another People of Color initiative. We do it every 3rd Wednesday. It's generally from 6 to 8, but this month, because of all the Pride events and things of that nature, it's going to be from 9 to 11. So I want all of you all to come out to that as well as the next panel. And come out to Pride. We got a lot of stuff going on. Come visit us. And I want to see all of you. I want to see all of you back with us again once we get together to move forward.
got a few things up here too, some articles and some things about being black and gay and Columbus, Ohio. Thank you.
Season.
Thank you.